Neil here. I'm going to take you through the components of a framework and how you can build your own framework, and finish off with a little trick that you can use for speeding up the whole process. So to start with, what's a framework made up of? So I'm here on a framework view, and you see we've got these three tabs across the top. So they're sort of the components. We've got the positions, the skills, and then the framework view sort of pulls it all together. So looking at the positions, see here we've got two tracks. You can have as many tracks as you like, and the track sort of typically we see individual contributor and management, but you can have multiple tracks and call them whatever you like. So often we'll see, for example, in engineering teams, they might have a back-end track and a front-end track and a management track. Dead easy to add in new tracks. You just click that plus, type it in there. Once you've created them, you can drag them around if you want to change the order. The positions are exactly what they sound like. You can just sort of click them, edit in place, and add in a new position that way. Once you've added them, you can click the pencil to edit, and you can edit the name and the level and the description. There's also a salary field there if you want to add in some salary transparency, and a hiring link that's visible internally and also externally if you choose to make your framework public. Don't worry about these tiles here. When a regular team member logs in, they're not going to see them. It's just because I'm an editor, I can see that sort of the placeholder tiles here as I build up my framework. And then finally, you can see the level. So we've got a level 1 here, 2, 3, 4. And then on the other track, we've got level 4 and 5. And you can have as many levels as you like. So that's our sort of career ladder view of the framework. The other important aspect is skills. Skills are grouped up into categories. So here we've got craft skills that represent the sort of function specific. So in this case, they would be engineering skills. We've got the human skills, which are sort of like the soft leadership skills. We often see them being consistent across different teams. So the engineering team, the customer success team, the design team would all have the same set of sort of soft skills. And then we've got sort of the leadership or the management skills, which again can be consistent across the leadership roles. So you can have as many categories as you like. Dead simple to add in another category here and rename them. And yeah, you can drag these categories around as well. Once you've sort of thought about the main categories that you want, you can add skills to them. So let's take a look at skills. So when you click the Add Skills button, you're going to see all of the skills in your organization's skill library, and then you're going to see all the ones in the progression library that you can pull in. And if you look carefully, you'll see the logo here is a bit different between the progression library and the org library. So the concept is that your organization will build up a library of skills that they've either written themselves or they've pulled in from the progression library, and then maybe tweak them to be more specific. So we always show the org library skills up at the top. We can choose to add it by either dragging it to wherever we want, or we can just click the add button and that will pull it into an uncategorized place. If we click into this skill, we'll see that it has 5 levels, from sort of the most junior level through to the most senior level. And each level has a description and a set of examples of what good looks like to be doing that skill. So you can have as many levels as you like. Most of our library skills have 5. That works great for most organizations. But if you want 6 levels or 3 levels, totally fine. You can do that. And then just to sort of show you what that looks like, this was the visual design skill that I pulled in. It was a design process skill that I pulled in. Once I pull it in, I can edit it here. So even if it's from the progression library, I can still add in new examples, I can remove examples, and I can edit the description and do whatever I like with that. If you are creating a skill and you want a helping hand, check out our AI skill generator. So under the hood, it's using ChatGPT to power the content generation. You basically put in a skill name, select what type of skill it is, and then you put in some examples of, in fact, there's a handy screenshot. You can put in the examples of what you want it to flesh out, and it will generate a skill for you. Sometimes it can take a couple of generations to get exactly the thing that you want, but generally it's a really good way of starting out. So we've looked at the career ladder view. We put our positions in. We looked at the skills. We grouped the skills up by category, and we've added a set of skills to our framework. The final sort of piece of the puzzle is where the positions and the skills come together into this sort of matrix view. And if I zoom out here, you'll sort of see what's going on. We've got all our positions along the top, and these are grouped up by the track. We've got all our skills down the side, grouped up by category. And in the middle, these green dots represent the level that's expected. So if we just focus in on our associate software engineer, this is the most junior engineering role that we have in our framework. And we can see that for the skill of systems thinking, level 1 is required. If I click into this, I'm going to see that same content that I saw on the skill. It's just this like slice of the skill at level 1. If we scroll down, we can see it's level 1s all the way down, which is cool. Just because this is a level 1 position, it doesn't mean that it has to have level 1 of everything. If it's more appropriate to have level 2, no problem. I'm just going to click that and it's going to assign level 2. We see this a lot in management roles. Typically, there will be some skills, here we go, which are sort of management-specific skills, and you might start out needing level 2 or 3 of those, even for the most junior management position. As you add them in, you're going to see this sort of radar diagram take shape up here, which is sort of the fingerprint of the position, and I'll come on to that in a moment. When you're adding the skills together, you might think that this looks like a lot of pointing and clicking. The first time you add a skill, you're going to get this choice to add to all positions, and this is going to sort of automatically add the skill to every position at the level that the position is at. So it defaults to the level 1 position having level 1 of the skill, level 2 position having level 2 of the skill, which should be right for most positions most of the time. But again, if you want to change it, maybe our engineering managers need less experience in design process, we can give them, we can change the requirement that they need. Super easy. So this view here is as close as we get to a spreadsheet, but much easier to sort of navigate around, much easier to sort of progressively disclose the content that can be quite overwhelming when you get it in the spreadsheet form. And you can also sort of explore the skills. You see all the skill content here, and we can also explore the positions as well. And we can see the descriptions there. There's a few other features that are handy for when you're actually in the build process. You can look at the history of a role and you can see how it was edited, and you can comment on a role as well. So when you leave a comment, all the editors of the team are going to get notified. So if you feel like some of the skills need changing or the description needs changing, or you want to get a second pair of eyes, you can pop in a comment there. So that sort of brings together the framework view. There is a couple more things I'm going to show you. First up is one of the benefits that you get from having all your content in progression as opposed to a spreadsheet is because it's all structured content. We've all connected these different levels of positions and skills together. It means that we can do some really neat things like comparing the positions. So for example, if an engineering manager wanted to get back into the IC track as a senior software engineer, how would that look different? Well, we can see a sort of visual representation of that, and we can see sort of this whole bunch of skills here where it has exact same requirements, and a different set here where there are skills that are not required for the role or skills that are required for the role. And then we can go through line by line and sort of look at the differences that are required. So we can start to see here skills that aren't required in the new role but were in the old role, and vice versa as well. We can see, okay, looks like there's a difference of requirements for this skill here. So this can be handy when you're building the framework out, just to compare what it looks like. But it really sort of comes into its own when your team start looking at the framework and start thinking like, I like what I need to do to get promoted, or if I wanted to transition into a different team, what would that look like? So that's something that you can start doing once the framework comes together. All right, as I said at the beginning, there's one last thing I want to show you, which is how to get started really quickly. So often what we find is an organization will have a core set of skills that they want to use across all the frameworks. These could be company values, they could be sort of operational behaviors, or they could be sort of soft skills required of everybody. So what you can do is create a team and call it like template or core skills or something like that. And within this team, you can create a sort of a skeleton set of tracks. So you could create like a generic IC track and management track, and you could create a set of generic positions. I might want to add in a sort of an M3 position here for management. You can add to that a core set of skills, and you can add your categories. So here we've just got our core skills and our functional skills. These functional skills are going to be things like engineering or design or data. And then if you want to, you can add in the requirements as well for these. So again, we're going to use that trick of adding it to all the positions. So then what happens when you want to create a new team is instead of starting from scratch and building everything out, you're just going to click on these three dots, make a copy, and we're going to see that here, core skills copy, excellent. I can go into the settings, I'm going to change the name, and this can go on to become my my finance team. I'll just go ahead and call that finance. I can change the slug as well, maybe I'll just call that finance, and let's save that. And now right away I've got my sort of starting template for the finance team. So I can go in here and then I can start editing this, and instead of IC2, maybe I want to call that like finance manager and update that. And then I'm good to go. We've got the same skills. And again, because we're sort of referencing skills, unlike a spreadsheet where by the time you shared it around with 12 different function leads, everything gets out of sync. All these skills are coming from a common library. So you edit this skill in one place, it's going to update across all the different teams. So super handy for keeping everything in sync. So there you go. That's a whistle-stop tour of how frameworks are built in progression, the different parts they're made up of, and how you can quickly roll out consistent new teams in your organization. Hope that's helpful. Just give us a shout if you have any questions. All the best. Cheers.